Recitation. Nell was a collier's daughter, innocent, sweet 17. Shall I tell you the story of Nellie? Yes, tell us it, Bill, if it's clean. Nell was a collier's daughter with a coal black daddy so fine. At the close of the day to the theatre he'd stray to forget the dark toil of the mine. Once he sat in the gallery with some of the lads. They started to quarrel a bit. It wasn't his shift, but they gave him a lift, and the collier went down in the pit. Years have rolled on since that happened. Time soothed the widow's pain. One morning she met a diver, and the girl's mother married again. Nell was a diver's daughter. He used to dive under the ships. He'd walk on the bed of the ocean and tread on the fishes and chips. But the mother and he could never agree, and they quarreled for hours and hours. Once he called her a dog, so she picked up his clog, and then came a coach filled with flowers. Years have rolled on since that happened. Time soothed the widow's pain. One morning she met a plumber, and the girl's mother married again. Nell was a plumber's daughter. Nell was a plumber's lass. She ran like mad for to fetch her dad when she smelt an escape of gas. Dad went upstairs with a lighted match, singing Granny's song at twilight. We heard a crack, and Dad came back through the next-door neighbor's skylight. Years have rolled on since that happened. Time soothed the widow's pain. One morning she met a baker, and the girl's mother married again. Nell was a baker's daughter, a loafer from way down east. And as sure as the sun used to sink in the west, his bread used to rise with the yeast. He sat down once on a cooking stove that could have been much colder, but he got 3 stripes for his bravery, a long way from his shoulder. Years have rolled on. No, I've said that once, haven't I? Then Nell fell in love with a sailor and married a jolly Jack Tar. He had eyes of blue. He was 62, but you know what sailors are. He'd a son called John who was 21, and it's very strange to say he fell in love with Nell's mother and married her right away. Now Nell is her mother's new mother. Her father becomes her own son. Her mother's first child is her father-in-law, and her daughter's the son of her gun. Her mother's first cousin looks after Nell's child, and they found on the day of its birth that its uncle's stepsister's its grandmother's aunt, and I'm the biggest liar on earth. Listen, people, although I say it myself, that's a very, very clever poem on the other side of the record. Well, it should be. It was written by the greatest poet this world has ever known. And after I'd written it, I went across to perform in Dublin. And one man was so touched with the pathos of that poem that he tried to commit suicide. And the bullet went right past my ear. Everywhere I appear, I get wonderful press reports in the local papers. I got a beauty last week. I must read this to you, said he, producing paper. We would like Mr. Bennett to stop in Bradford forever. Manchester Guardian. Here's another one, just as good, when I was in the theatre. A Shakespearean tragedy was presented at the Theatre Royal last night. An excellent performance was marred by some unruly members of the audience throwing eggs at the actors. Mr. Bennett came on as Hamlet and went off as Omelette. I should be on a South African tour now, but I've cancelled it. Somebody told me an ostrich egg weighs 3 pounds. Of course, I belong to a theatrical family. There are 3 like me. 2 of them are on the stage, and the other one writes home for money as well. We inherit our talent from my father. My father was a very clever comedian. At present he's up in hospital. He broke 2 of his fingers cracking jokes to a deaf and dumb man. They took him up to the hospital and bandaged him up. One of the doctors took his temperature, another one took his wristwatch, and father said, when my hand gets better, will I be able to play the piano? The doctor said, certainly you will. Father said, well, you're a wonderful doctor. I could never play before. Into the same ward they brought a Scotchman who was suffering with the gathering of the clans. The doctor painted his back with whiskey, and he broke his neck trying to lick it off. In the bed opposite to my father was a commercial traveller brought in from one of the hotels, stabbed in the eye with a hat pin. I thought it was through an accident, but it wasn't. It was through a keyhole. On the day of my visit, the doctor was very, very busy on a big case. There were only 2 bottles left. And standing on the doorstep was a fellow in a white smock. It looked to me like a student going in for a doctor. It wasn't. It was a painter going out for a drink. Father was very ill indeed. He could keep nothing on his stomach. He tried one of their pills, but it rolled off during the night. And the funny thing, the doctor turned out to be my wife's cousin twice removed. Once for death and once by a sanitary inspector. And he's told my wife so much about hygiene and the impurities in water that before she'll allow a drop of drinking water in our house to be touched, first of all it's drawn through a hygienic filter, it's chlorinated, boiled, she allows it to cool, then we throw it away and drink Guinness. That'll be enough of that for today, thank you. Bye-bye.